my encouragement to you. If following peace means going to the marketplace, go to the marketplace. But there's something about following peace that drew me to passion, calling, and vocation that linked InterVarsity staff as my yes. And so for my encouragement to you, follow peace. Like, go where God calls you. Do the God thing, not the good thing.
Is the Lord inviting you to join staff with InterVarsity? Whether you feel completely confident that you should, completely confident that you should not, or if you land somewhere in between the two, then this episode is for you. And here's why. Today's episode is going to provide some starting points for discernment, a glimpse at some of the benefits of joining staff, and it's going to provide a couple of reality checks to make sure that you have counted the cost. Ultimately, our desire for this conversation is that it encourages you to follow the Lord's calling in your life, whether that's InterVarsity staff, the marketplace, or somewhere completely different. In the end, we just want you to say yes to Jesus. Today, we're joined by Lucas and Chelir. You already know Lucas from our previous episodes on barriers to calling. He is back again, and Chelir is joining us for the first time. Chelir is a passionate servant leader committed to discipleship, church planting, and global missions. She's a national director for InterVarsity, a wife, a mom, and as you will hear in the episode, an engineer to her core. And she and Lucas are going to help us answer the question, should I join staff with InterVarsity? Welcome to After 4, your podcast for navigating life after graduation. I'm your host and guide, John Steele, and this one's for you, alumni. Chelir and Lucas, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
Excited to be back again, John.
Yes, Lucas, you've been around the block a couple times with us for a new episode, for a few episodes. And now, Chelir, excited to have you jump in for our last conversation. I know that we have a lot of things to cover here, so we're just gonna head first, dive right in here. Over the last few weeks, we've covered a number of barriers to saying yes to Jesus in work and calling. Things like, let's see if I can remember all of them: fear and family and finances and the future. I think those were the 4 F's that we covered. But today we're not talking about a barrier. Today we're talking about an opportunity, which is exciting. And it may not be an opportunity that everyone has considered. It certainly won't be an opportunity that everybody says yes to, but it is an opportunity that I think a ton of our alumni come through their time in InterVarsity wondering, should I be considering this? And that opportunity that we're talking about is joining staff with InterVarsity. So let's dive in. Lucas and Chelir, in your experience as staff, in your experience as just professionals in general, and having conversations with others who are discerning, do you have some recommendations for alumni about how they can thoughtfully process whether or not InterVarsity staff is an invitation that the Lord is giving them?
Yeah, I even want to start this conversation by naming the reality that our discernment process, whether it is coming on staff, another profession, whatever it may be, needs to have God at the center of it, right? Yes. I think back to my own story and when I was discerning coming on staff, and I shared a bit of my testimony in all the previous episodes of how I got to where I am now. So many of the things that were in my way was because I kept trying to cram myself at the center of the story, right? But the reality is that God is at the center of our story. God is at the center of our discernment process. And Chelir, out of all the things that, like, we have, John, you mentioned, we have numerous things that we could cover today, but Chelir, maybe I'll kick it over to you. Where do you think it's most helpful for us to start?
I think for me, even as I think about my journey, so I'm not an InterVarsity baby. I did not even know what InterVarsity was until I was in seminary. I was invited to Urbana, and that's how I got introduced to InterVarsity. It was probably like the second or third day of the conference. And so for me, it started with just kind of seeing where God was already at work in my life. I came to the conference thinking I'm coming to this conference to learn more about missions, but my heart was open, and I really was just kind of listening for what the Lord was doing as I was at the conference. And probably like the conference was in December, January, probably around October, September, I already sensed like, okay, maybe something's about to shift in my life. I didn't know what it was, had no idea it was going to be coming on staff. But I just felt like this shift was coming. And so like Lucas is saying, God being at the center, God was already at work within my heart. And it was more so me just sitting and listening to him, taking time to sift like, okay, Lord, what are you doing? Where are you at work? why am I here, and what is the bigger part of your story, and how you want me to be a part of it. And I think that's just an important part of discerning what it means to come on staff. I've had conversations with students who are like, I loved being a student leader, or I've enjoyed, this conference and having these kind of conversations. Others are like, I love doing Bible study. I wish I could do this every day. I remember my first time sitting at Urbana at a table, and it was because I was sitting there and just doing something that was natural to me, that felt comfortable, that I was like, this feels more like what I'm supposed to be doing than the engineering job that I'm doing, that I was good at. Now, mind you, I was good. I was a great engineer. I was moving up the chain. But there was something that felt natural, like, okay, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I think that's an important part, is like, where is God at work? Remembering how he's worked in your life, being good at listening, not just to God, but to the other people around you. But then also like sifting to see like, okay, what is at work? How is the Spirit moving? What is the God doing for me in this season of my life? And I think when you do those things all together, it helps you to better understand, like, what might the Lord be calling me to?
I love that you named multiple parts of that process, Chelir. And I especially love the naming and framing that you named of, I'm at this conference, I'm in seminary, I'm already feeling God tug me in this direction, even though I'm dang good at my engineering job, right? Like, okay, let's name that. Let's be real with that, right? Maybe God is tugging your heart towards ministry. Maybe he is tugging your heart towards engineering, the business field, whatever it may be. But I think then you name the remembering piece of that too. And I think that's so crucial for our alumni. That was crucial for me in my discernment process, was where has God been faithful, and where has he shown up and brought me joy in areas of my life where I do think he might be leading me in calling. Part of my discernment process my senior year was I was torn on whether I was going to go into ministry or whether I wanted to go into the marketing field after college. And as I was reflecting on all my different experiences, one of the things that kept coming up is that part of my internship my senior year was doing social media marketing for the university that I was at, the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. And I had the chance, I loved my job. I got to walk around, take pictures on campus, do a bunch of different promotional events. It was super fun. But the parts that I actually loved most about that job were the people I interacted with and the faith conversations that I got to have with them. So as much as I the work was fine, I was good at the work that I did, but I recognized I remember the piece where I felt the most joy, the most fulfillment, where I felt God actually show up the most within that, was in, hey, I'm going around campus and with this co-intern of mine, and we're having conversations about her faith upbringing and how does she still practice that? Does she still practice that? Where is she curious about faith things? And it was just like spontaneous. I never expected that in my discernment process with a marketing internship specifically, but that was part of it. Was, okay, God, you've been faithful in my small groups. You've been faithful in conversations I've had outside of my small groups when I've actually been discerning a different area of calling. What does that mean? And then I love how you listed that as well, Chelir, of you got to sift through all that afterwards too and figure out, where does that leave us, God?
Yeah. And I think even what you're naming is passion, right? In seminary, I took a class. I don't remember what the class was called, but it was a class that basically talked about you. I thought the class was going to teach me how to talk about other people, but it was all about yourself. And one of the things they talked about is how when you think of vocation, you look at passion and you look at calling. And I think sometimes we tend to be like, okay, I want to do this job because I'm good at it and it's going to make me a lot of money and it's going to bring fulfillment in life. But there's something about fulfillment that's deeper when it's linking your passion and your calling together. And that's the difference that I felt. Like, I was good at engineering. I've always been good at math and science. I always knew I was going to be an engineer, partly because my dad forced it upon me when I was 5 years old. So in my mind, I was always going to be an engineer. But I tell people I'm still engineering. I'm just not engineering pipelines anymore. I'm engineering the lives of students. I'm engineering their faith walk. I'm engineering. So I'm still doing the exact same thing, but now there's passion connected to it and there's calling connected to it. And I just think that's so important. I tell students, if you don't feel called to InterVarsity staff, don't say yes, because staff is hard. And in the moments where it's the most hard, I always am like, but Lord, you called me to this, right? Like that. Yeah. When I'm raising support, I'm like, what? You did call me to this. When I have a student that makes me want to just go, I'm like, Lord, you called me to this, right? So that passion, that calling, together linked with your vocation, that's the thing that launches you forward to really walk forward in purpose. And a lot of students I know that I've talked to, They're just like, I just want to live out my purpose. Well, passion, calling, vocation, if you can link all those together, you got purpose. And I think that's just a huge part of the discernment process.
I know we've only begun to scratch the itch of the discernment question. There's so much more, but there are other things that I would love to hear from you two about. And that's, what are the benefits that make employment with InterVarsity comparable to another non-ministry employer? And then the second thing, what are benefits that are certainly unique to ministry, but maybe even unique to InterVarsity staff in particular, that you would not get to experience otherwise?
I'm glad we do have I'll call Chelir an expert in terms of comparable benefits from inside InterVarsity to external from InterVarsity as well. So Chelir, I'll default to your expertise to at least get us started in this conversation in the overlap between InterVarsity and external orgs.
Yeah, so comparable things, there are benefits, right? I will say in InterVarsity, that's a part of your raise and support. So if you want, you can raise support and have a benefits package. One of the great things about flexibility within InterVarsity, when I was single, I wasn't married, I didn't have kids, before my husband was working, we did benefits through InterVarsity, and it was great. We raised the support. I had it by myself. It was really good benefits too. As someone who's had a couple of them, they're actually really good benefits.
I just
y'all might know this.
to them.
Oh, really? Yeah. So back in the day, they used to call it Cadillac plans. I feel like InterVarsity is one of those Cadillac plans when it comes to benefits. So it's really good benefits. But also you have the flexibility to enter in and enter out. So once my husband was working, his benefits package was comparable, or even just, I didn't have to raise the support for it anymore. We had 2 kids. We switched over to him, right? So so my budget wasn't jumping too much. We switched over to him. Yeah. So benefits coverage. So you get health, you get dental, vision, all the things. If you are someone, there's actually something I did when I first became an engineer. I was signing up for benefits. I was young. I was pretty healthy. And the benefits person told me, do the high deductible plan. And the reason you want to do that is because you get a health savings account. And the great thing about a health savings account versus FlexSpend, I'm teaching y'all something that y'all might not know yet, but just know this is important.
It's important.
Health spending account, a health spending account versus a flexible spending account is the health spending account stays with you forever. So I had a health spending account with my engineering job from when I was 23, 20, whatever, right out of college. And I was putting money in that. When I had a baby and I was working for InterVarsity, that money was still there. And I used that money to have my first baby. InterVarsity has those exact same plans. And so they have health savings accounts. They have flexible spending accounts. So that's also really great. And then there's retirement. I think sometimes you think you're working in ministry, so you won't have retirement. I was literally just going through my, I literally just went through my account yesterday with the switch and was like, oh, okay, let me get everything set up. So I have a 401k that I had with my engineering company. And even though there's not a 401k because it's a nonprofit, it's a ministry, they have a 403b. But it's the same thing. Both of my accounts, they're coming. There's InterVarsity matches up to a certain percentage. And it's great. And that's just like how we have in other things. Where it's a little bit different, and I would say InterVarsity has the leg up, is maternity leave. If you are in parental leave. If you want to have a family one day, I'm not pushing that, but if you want to have a family one day as someone who has kids, the maternity leave is good. You get 3 months of maternity leave. I have friends who literally get 6 weeks. Some get nothing and they have to use their own sick days, all of that. And in InterVarsity, you get 3 months. And if you are the partner, you actually get a month off. And I hope that is a huge benefit. But then also I had a friend who wanted to adopt, and InterVarsity gave them money to help them with adopting to grow their family. And so there's just so many things to help you when it comes to that. So those are some things that I would say are comparable. But InterVarsity kind of has that leg up because of the amount of maternity leave, the fact that there's paternity leave. Not everybody does the parental leave. And then that adoption assistance is also good.
I also want to name, and John, you can stop me from transitioning to this point, but
no, keep going. This is great.
Not the actual, but outside of the practical benefits, how many spiritual benefits do we get from this job as well?
Man,
and I hope that's like, I hope some people are breathing a sigh of relief as they hear that, because it's not great. We got you funded. You're out on campus. You're doing your thing. You're having your normal supervisory check-ins. Like, no, I am more than made sure that I am spiritually well within my work. So some of the things that I've been blessed by is maybe you've gone to, I know some regions they call it a mark camp, others it's chapter camp, right? The end of the year retreat, where a lot of times there are retreats of silence built into that conference. It can be anywhere from 2 to 5 hours that some conferences do it at. It's actually, I believe it's actually within my contract that once per month I am required to take a full day of retreat in silence once per month. So it's not just like a once every 11 months when I go to camp at the end of the year, I take a multiple hour retreat of silence. No, it's once per month from sun up to sundown. I can take a retreat of silence and whatever that needs to be for me that day. That is like, I've started, and it, amen.
Yes.
Amen.
They pay for it. You don't have to do it by yourself.
Not bad.
No less vacation days. Right. You keep all those vacation days. You pocket them for another sunny day. That's a huge benefit. And I don't want to speak for all regions or areas in this regard, but I know at least in Lakes and Plains, we have a spiritual formation team where I get free spiritual advising and guidance once per month. Someone on the team I meet with, and it's simply, Terry, I love her. Terry Fisher is a wonderful human. Terry, this is what I'm dealing with. Where's Jesus in this? I have no clue. And Terry's seen me through some of the highest and lowest points of my time on staff. And I think without the spiritual formation that the region has provided me, I'd just be in such a different place on staff, and I'd be questioning, like, Chelir said it, staff is hard. Would I still be around if I didn't actually have not just the practical benefits, but the spiritual benefits to keep me healthy as well?
Lucas, my memory is that you haven't quite gotten to this yet, but somebody want to talk about sabbatical?
I was going to say that. I was going to say that.
Chelir, you could speak to that. I'm knocking on the door. I'm the young newbie here.
So I didn't know this was even a thing. I don't even know if I knew the word before I came on staff with InterVarsity. So we hear about Sabbaths, right? Those times where we're supposed to cease and rest, kind of like a spiritual retreat day, right? So it's like a day to just rest and be with the Lord or just rest your body. Well, there's a Sabbath period that we do in InterVarsity that's called a sabbatical, y'all. It could be up to 6 months. When I did mine, it was 6 months. I know some people who do 4 or 5. It kind of depends. And honestly, there's actually an option. Now, I'm not telling you to do this. I'm not telling you will get this, but there is an option to do a 1-year sabbatical. And that's if you're doing it for seminary purposes. So if you're like, I want to go to seminary, I need to finish up this degree. It falls within your every 7 years. So this only happens every 7 years. You actually can take a 1 year and just go intensive and finish up a seminary degree. And so sabbaticals are wonderful. To those who, like, again, want to start a family, I lined mine up with my maternity leave. So it worked out perfectly where I did sabbatical and then, I did maternity leave, came back for a little bit and then did sabbatical. And so for almost a whole year, I was chilling. And it's
we call that perk stacking.
Right.
So, and it was paid, right? I was getting paid during this period to just rest, adjust to being a new mom. But it's just the fact that you get a paid 3 to 6 months, maybe a year, where you're just able to do the things you need to do. And there's different types. Some people do it. Mine was spiritual formations. I know some people who became a life coach. I have one of my friends on staff who became a life coach during her sabbatical. And so the sabbatical isn't for you just to sit around and be lazy. That's part of it. But it's also to build your, but it's also a time to build yourself up and get to a place where you're ready for another 7 years of employment. And it's actually biblical. It goes right along with, the people in the Old Testament. That was something that every 7 years, all their debts were paid off. And it was the year of Jubilee. It kind of echoes that same sentiment. So sabbatical is one of my favorites.
Lucas, I know that you're a part of some of the helping new staff get their funding off the ground, that team. Can you just speak really briefly to the immense amount of quality support that new staff and veteran staff but that new staff in particular get for getting their feet with funding?
Oh my gosh, yeah, and you're asking me to answer this shortly. How do I put it shortly? You will not go without feeling like you're supported. And maybe the best example that I can give is one of the new staff that or actually a resident that I'm coaching this summer. I asked at the end of one of our meetings, do you have any questions? Like, what can I help provide clarity on right now? And her question was just simply, so do I come to you when I have questions? Do I go to the person who is in my 101 training cohort to get me prepared to do MPD? Do I talk to my supervisor? Do I talk, right? And that can maybe sound overwhelming, but I saw it more as a question of she felt well prepared, but she had so many different places to which she could go with things. And it's just like, I want to honor the process, but also like, I'm so well supported with a 7-week training program before we even get you started in doing support raising. You have a coach who will meet with you depending on the program that you're in. It can be weekly, it can be bi-weekly, it can be once a month, right? Like it kind of depends on the program that you're in, the region that you're in. You'll have a coach who is helping you set goals, who is helping keep you accountable, but who is also there to like acknowledge what is God doing in you as well.
Yes.
Because MPD is not just about fundraising. It's not about making sure you got a paycheck. It's not just about it's ministry partnership development. We are developing a team and we are ministering to partners in the process of doing that as well. And that is like, I can't even put it into like a short enough of an answer of like how that is just so spiritually forming for all staff before they even step foot onto campus and engage battle with the enemy in that regard. So, man, it is one of the most spiritually forming processes, and you have ample support in making sure your process isn't a lonely one, and that you feel like you're just being left hung out to dry. More than enough support in that regard too.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like, two of my most significant experiences with Jesus over the last couple of years have been in the support raising process. And I will say it has not been just, yes, God, you got me to the end of this fiscal year, fully funded. You did it again. Thank you. It was actually in the waiting for him to come through in supplying my budget that I had some of the most intimate, sweet, gentle moments with Jesus that were like formative for my personal faith, and not just me as a staff worker, not just professionally, but saying like the way that God saw me as John the human.
Amen to that. And I mean, as someone who's been on staff for a while, the beautiful part of being with InterVarsity is they care and they actually listen to their staff. And so when I first came on staff, they gave us a binder. We did one class and it was like, good luck. And
there you go. Good luck.
Yeah, even before that, I heard it was less than that. Yeah, so we had that. And then I think later on they added 102. But the fact that you have a coach, the fact that you have someone that's walking alongside you to hold you accountable. The reality is MPD is hard. And I know we've talked about that in a previous, one of our previous sessions, but just the reality that MPD is hard, but the fact that they give you a coach. And I feel like that's the thing with InterVarsity across the table when we think about benefits and like what's one of the things that's an opportunity when it comes with InterVarsity. Because when it comes to your spirituality, there's somebody that'll do spiritual formations. When it comes to your MPD, there's somebody that'll coach you in your MPD. When it comes to how do I walk staff, like there's mentors along the way as well as your supervisors. And as someone who came from engineering, I had to seek these things out. Whereas in a varsity, there's always this question of like, what do you need to be a better staff? And people provide that for you. So I remember moving from so I came on as a part-time staff. That's another benefit. If you did not know, you don't have to be a full-time staff. You can be bivocational. So I came on staff. I was working as an engineer 20 hours, staffing 20 hours, one campus and then two campus. And then I was also in seminary. That's a lot. Don't do all that. But I'm just saying, I was doing all of those things at the same time. And when the Lord, through discernment, was like, Chelir, it's time for you to let go of engineering, I remember letting it go and taking a huge pay cut, because even as a part-time engineer, I was still making more than I was as a staff within a varsity. But I remember the moment where my AD, my area director, pulled me to the side and was like, "Oh, Chelir, I know you left engineering, but your funding is not in a good place for full-time staff. And I was like, well, then if I can't be full-time, I might have to leave staff. And he was like, no, that's not what I mean. Like, let me figure out how to help you. And he was like, what do you need? And I said, I need a coach. I need someone that can hold me accountable, because I had the networks. Some people don't have the networks, and there's ways that InterVarsity is trying to grow. I can't say we're there. Okay. We're not there yet, but we're trying to grow in how do we help lower network staff. But if you have a network and your issue is just accountability and what do I do, which was where I was, had a deficit, my supervisor made sure I had the things that I needed. And the beautiful part is now that's just an automatic part of the job, like an automatic part of the role. You don't have to find a coach. They give you a coach. You don't have to find training. They give you training. That's all a part of the process. And that's the beautiful part of working for this company is they listen to their employees. We do a survey regularly. They hear our feedback, and then they make adjustments based on that feedback. And I really appreciate that as someone who's been around for a while.
Yeah. So obviously we would all speak pretty highly. I think also realistically, we've had moments of speaking realistically about this, but we would speak very highly of what it looks like to join staff. And we represent very different like placements on staff as well. So So here's my question, my nearly closing question, but not quite. Is joining staff with InterVarsity the ultimate positive outcome from this discernment process that we are inviting alumni and other listeners into?
Lucas?
The InterVarsity brand evangelist in me wants to scream yes, but I am not the author of your life. That's God. I will let you and God figure that out. The answer, like truthfully, is no. It's no. I appreciate how Chelir brought up it can be part-time staff. It can be some students who graduate. It can do a residency for 1 year with InterVarsity to further explore their discernment. That's an option. We have plenty of volunteers in the Metro Minnesota area who will lead Bible studies on campuses because Lord knows there's so many campuses that we don't yet have a presence on. But like the point blank blunt answer is like, no, it's not the ultimate outcome. And it's important that like your obedience to God is top priority, not joining InterVarsity staff because it is the quote spiritually responsible thing to do.
Yeah. And just because you're invited to consider staff, that doesn't mean your staff saying you need to say yes. I think sometimes students hear the invitation, and so then they force themselves to come on staff because this person who has been leading me, been discipling me, invited me to do this, and this is something that is godly, so I'm not supposed to say no. The thing is, you can still say yes to good things, but they not be God things, right? And we want you to say yes to God things. And so if the God thing is for you to come on staff, then yes, that's the positive outcome. But if that's the good thing and not the God thing, then I agree. It's also not the positive outcome. And the reality is, if you still want to be connected to InterVarsity, staff isn't the only way to do that, right? Like you can volunteer. We have some alumni. We do in Red River region, which is Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana, right? In that region, we hold a regional Black student conference. And for the last 2 years, this is now about to be our 3rd year, we have ran that conference with alumni. The reality is there's so many ways to stay connected to InterVarsity without saying yes to staff. And so if you say yes to staff, we want you to say yes because that's the God thing for you to do, not the good thing for you to do.
Yeah. So good. I feel like we've given people a lot of really great content to think through here, but I'm also biased because I host this podcast. But I think that you two have really given us a lot to consider that's super helpful. Do you have a final word of encouragement or a pastoral word for those who are listening in about this process of discerning whether or not they should be considering staff?
Yeah, I can. I think my biggest thing is follow peace, right? I remember when I even came into this idea of coming on staff, and I remember the process because here I am leaving a 6-figure job, telling my family, hey, I'm leaving this 6-figure job to join an organization that I had never heard of because I went to a conference, right? Like I had never seen it on campus. I'd never talked to a student outside the people I taught. But there was something that was peaceful about it. And I always know that where peace is, that's where God is. And so there's something about following peace. And it's not, I remember, I still have this list. I really should have seen if I had it so I could show y'all, but because I took a picture of it. I remember in my discernment process literally writing down all of the things I would not get if I came on staff. I was like, I'm never going to be married. I don't know why I thought this, but this is what I told myself. Wasn't going to be married. I was going to be broke and, living that life of just like commitment and just push it through. I remember saying I wasn't going to be able to buy a house. And it was like all these things. And when I go back to that list, it's like almost everything I said, I can check off like the Lord still did it in his way and in his timing. And so for me, it was like, how do I follow peace? And that's my encouragement to you. If following peace means going to the marketplace, go to the marketplace. You can still lead people to Christ. I did it. You can still lead Bible studies. I did it. You can still sit there and walk through the scriptures with people. I did it. You can have conversations with non-believers. I did all of that at my engineering job before I even knew what staff was, right? But there's something about following peace that drew me to passion, calling, and vocation that linked InterVarsity staff as my yes. And so for my encouragement to you, follow peace. Like, go where God calls you, do the God thing, not the good thing. And if that's where peace is, then say yes to staff, whether that's part-time to eventually become full-time, or whether that's full-time in this season, or whether that's volunteer and then eventually coming on staff in some way in a paid capacity.
Yeah.
That's me. Lucas?
I mean, no notes, amen. I would be happy to send on that. But I think too, like, and I've seen alumni actually wrestle with this question of like, I'm graduated, I have a job, but I don't know what's next and I need to make a choice. And I would actually say what's more important than the choice, even if you're just graduating and you're trying to decide where God is calling you, like the more important thing is that like you have a sense of where God is leading you, right? And it's not about this or that, but it's more about, hey, God, where are we going? Am I in tune with you to follow you first and foremost, right? God's at the center, not me and the choice that I have to make. It's God, I'm literally putting this in your hands. And I think that's a great spot where, Chelir, follow peace, because chances are that's where God is heading as well.
So, should you join staff with InterVarsity? Maybe. Or maybe you should become a teacher, or a lawyer, or a CEO, or a nurse, or an influencer. I don't know what the Lord is calling you to do, but I know for sure that you should commit yourself fully to following Jesus wherever it is that he leads you. You need to commit to cultivating a discerning ear for the voice of the Lord in your life. And if you're training your ear for his voice, and if you're training your response to be yes when he calls, then it doesn't really matter where you end up, because wherever it is, the Lord will be at work there. And that may lead you right into staff for your entire career, or for a shorter season, but it might also lead you into a totally different career, or on a very winding path of seemingly unrelated jobs, or it might lead you out of the workforce altogether. In the end, what matters is that you follow Jesus where he leads. If you do that, I promise that your life will be time well spent in the capable hands of a God who loves you and who is so delighted to see you at work in the world that he's made. Lucas and Chelir, thank you so much for being with us today and for providing some helpful insights on what it looks like to join staff. I loved getting to hang out with you. Let's do it again soon. Alumni, we're taking a few weeks off here between series, but come back at the end of July when we jump into our Side Quests series. We're going to be looking at how we spend our free time in life after graduation. Until then, consider sharing this episode with someone who needs to hear it, and I will see you in the after, alumni. Thanks for listening to After 4. This podcast is brought to you by the InterVarsity Alumni Relations Team, hosted and produced by John Steele, production assistance by Mike Zentera, edited by Caleb Leppert, and our After 4 theme music was written and performed by John Steele.